Swedenborg's scientific aptitude was not limited to engineering and design. He had papers, essays, or entire volumes published in the fields of chemistry, geology, metallurgy, crystallography, cosmology, biology, physiology, and zoology. Although Swedenborg's knowledge of human anatomy was extensive, he didn't actually perform dissections himself. He would have come to witness them in theatres such as this one, in the Gustavianum in Uppsala. Later in his career, Swedenborg would put this knowledge to good use when he took up the baton from the French philosopher Descartes and began his quest to find the seat of the soul in the human body.
And now it was the soul in man and mankind and its role. Where is the soul? Can we anatomically find out how the soul works in our brain, for example? And he stayed in Italy and studied that question, and the result was a very heavy book on the cerebrum, on the brain.
This is something that people at the time thought they could find somewhere in the body. Descartes famously believed the soul was in the pineal gland, which is this bit that the Hindus knew about quite a bit earlier than Descartes, because they talked about the third eye. Swedenborg, I don't think he knew quite about that in that sense, but he was following Descartes' lead in the notion that the soul somehow resided in the pineal gland. Strangely enough, the pineal gland is important for other reasons too, because it produces melatonin, which is something that's involved in the production of serotonin, which is one of the neurotransmitters. So it's a very important gland that is key to how consciousness operates. So I think you could see Swedenborg as someone like perhaps Goethe a little bit later on, as someone who was able to combine spiritual pursuits with scientific ones and not feel that they were diametrically opposed.
This was an idea he explored in his later scientific works, starting with what is regarded as his great philosophical labour, a magnum opus called the Principia. The Principia was no less than Swedenborg's attempt to explain the universe. It was the summation of his life's work thus far. It was an attempt to explain how the finite world was created from the infinite. It was philosophy, but not in the metaphysical sense of the word as we understand it today.
More and more his thoughts were elsewhere.
Swedenborg had begun to question his ambitions. They appeared arrogant to him, a repulsive form of self-love. He was showing signs of cracking under the weight of his own immense intellect. His final scientific work, which he was never to complete, was his most ambitious yet. Entitled The Animal Kingdom, it was planned as a kind of encyclopedia of the relationship of human reason to the divine, a summation of his religious, philosophical, medical, and psychological knowledge. He wanted to show how God was present in the way our bodies function, how the intake of breath mirrors the inflow of the divine. The foundations of his future labours were laid here, and his divine calling was just around the corner. The first signs of Swedenborg's impending religious crisis came in 1743, when he was already 55 years old. He left Stockholm on the 21st of July, and as was his habit, began keeping a journal of his travels. It soon becomes evident that all was not well with the great scientist. He began to wonder what there was left for him to do, and noted that he began to feel a wakeful ecstasy almost continually, describing himself as inwardly content but outwardly distressed. His changing state of mind was documented in this journal, which quickly metamorphosed from an ordinary travel-log into his dream diary, one of the most remarkable accounts of spiritual crisis and enlightenment ever.